Hey guys, it's Jonathan McCormack. I'm an attachment specialist in New York, and you can find me at attachmenthealinghelp.com. I do want to talk about, maybe in a two-part, attachment, desire, and sex. I just want to say, first of all, I'm not the sex guy. I'm just not that guy. Other people are like, yeah, we're going to talk about sex. And I'm just like, no, shh, God might hear you. Just shh, I'm still very that repressed Catholic boy. And I'm not a sex therapist. I am in training for something like that. But this is kind of just very basic, and this will be off of Emily Nagoski's book, Come As You Are. And then afterwards, I'll give a meditation. So the book is kind of interesting. I don't know if you notice this, but every 2 years, this is true, look it up. Every 2 years, a new book comes out on female orgasm or something like that, women's sexuality. And every 2 years, it says this is a breakthrough. This is an incredible breakthrough. And even Emily Nagoski, she actually says in the book, we're just beginning in 2022. We're just beginning to learn about this stuff. To me, I'm very mystified. I don't understand that. In fact, I just read a paper and it was saying, some of this information is from the 1970s when we didn't know anything about female sexuality. He actually says that. How can you believe that? I mean, I know. Sex was invented in 1963, yeah, by the Beatles, I think. And before then, it was like storks and something to do with bees and flowers and Cabbage Patch Kids or something. I don't know. But apparently, we're just learning about these things. But what they always say is more or less the same thing. They're like, there's a context, yeah. Like women will not be turned on unless, you can write this one down, they feel safe. And they're stunned. I know young women, they want to go on a date and they're planning on bringing the guy home. Before they go on the date, they spend an hour with a toy and they're getting drunk and they're doing this. And then they say, is something wrong with me? No, you're not made to have sex with strangers. That's biologically, because the sex, it's attached to babies. Yeah. And if you have one of them, you need a lot of support. That's how it was for tens of thousands of years. So yeah, you're not made to do that. It's going to be weird. You're going to have to be drunk. Yeah, to numb yourself from that. Or get to know them, I don't know. So her big thing is that there's sexual accelerators, but then there's this other aspect called breaks, sensitive breaks, right? So it's there's two systems. This is how she conceptualized it. The sexual excitation system, and then the one that shuts it down, sexual inhibition system. So apparently there are things that make ladies feel sexy, and then there are things that damper that, And it's kind of like two different breaks, basically. One full-on break, oh my God, grandma is in the room and she's not leaving. And one that's very respond specifically to specific things like stress, fear of performance, worrying about failing, that's very gradual. And women will still have relations even with that break on, but it takes a long time. I don't understand. I never orgasm. I make love for 4 hours. Yeah, because this is not a safe guy, and you know that, and your whole system's on a break. It's breaking. Yeah, you get there, but you got to use this toy and the double rabbit triple thing with 8 batteries. I mean, come on, it ain't natural. They don't seem to realize that their emotional well-being is dependent upon safety. And people with attachment issues, this is men and women completely, really. I mean, men with their sexual issues, truly. Though it's true that men in general have greater sexual accelerators, and women in general have more inhibition, have higher inhibition system. So it's basically navigating this. It depends how sensitive your brakes are to that stimulation. Now, these are traits. So can you change them? Like, can someone who takes a long time to warm up become one of those people like that? I would say no. I would say no. These are like hard traits. This is just how you respond. And I don't think they'll change. You can try. Go to therapy for a long time. I wouldn't take on a client to because I just don't think it'll happen. I think these are very hard grained in us. But you can change the contexts. You know, I mean, the first thing you might want to do is look at yourself. Which one are you? You know, I mean, when you're aroused, just like the slightest thing just poof, sets you off. You know. Or are you one of those people have to feel completely safe, completely trusted, completely everything before you feel that real desire? And by the way, you can feel both. You know, you can feel a great desire for sex, but not with your husband. And a woman will say, like, it's so bizarre. I just, he doesn't turn me on at all. But I bring my little toy every night just to sleep. And that, like, I look forward to and whatnot. So I do have the desire. I do feel it. Of course, it's not for him. It's not for him, though. Like, you can have both. You can have a desire for sex and not for him. So you might not be able to control the mechanism. But probably you can change what the mechanism responds to. Probably. And whenever you hear that word, especially if it's in like literature or psychology, it means like, yeah, you can do it, but good looking luck, you know? Like, it takes a minute. But she has some good techniques at the end, you know? So it can make a difference. The thing is, the brakes, they go on when you perceive a potential threat, you know? Well, you can reduce those threats. If you're not comfortable with the person, if you're not sure where you stand with them, that could be a threat to the relationship. So you can ask for a commitment or at least find out what's happening. And there's other things you can do, like planning when both of you aren't incredibly stressed, you know, creating the right environment. So you can also change the accelerator, what you consider sexually relevant, and you can increase those things in your life, you know. So one good thing is to write down the last, that she has this exercise and worksheets last time, the 3 last times you had great sex. Say, I whispered, I'm still very uncomfortable. And 3 times you had, you know, bad sex, right? And write it down, like, what was going on here? What was going on with you? How'd you feel about yourself, your body? What was your partner like? Was he or she looking good right then? What were the stresses in your life? Where were you? And you write it down. You'll see the pattern. You'll see if this environment is the environment where it happens. This environment, no. And people don't pay attention to that. It is, especially with attachment problems. You're barely in your body. You don't feel your emotions. Avoidance, forget it. They're completely out to lunch. So it actually is. This actually is a worthwhile exercise, and I really would write these things down. At the very least, write down the things that push your brake. Just write them down so you know. Dealing with the kids, having a full-time job. You know, we're not complaining. We're just saying factually this does. You know, we're just saying, you know, maybe having that job with the wrong boss. Maybe your parents. You know, just dealing with them. Or maybe your body has changed and you have some body shame. You know, but write it down. Whatever. About you, and also write about him, you know, like, well, he's not respecting me, and or she's not doing this, and that, yeah, I remember when we had bad sex because I was angry at him, and this time, oh, he was so sweet, and he did X, Y, and Z. Notice those things and write them down, because that's what you're going to need to create this environment. So her whole thing kind of boils down to, you need to reduce your stress. She has some good things on that. Be affectionate towards yourself and your body. huge part of attachment work is literally just learning to love yourself. You go back to a part, oh, that wounded 8-year-old part, how do you feel about it? And you try to feel compassionate. What you're doing is you're showing compassion to yourself. You're getting the compassion, your best self, online. So, and I've seen this too. Like, all right, so things aren't working in the bedroom. So what you do, you get a bunch of toys, and you get some novelty, and you get this, and you get that, and games, But at the same time, your life is hitting that break. You still have that stress, and the kids are driving you, and your parent, and your in-law. It doesn't matter. Bring in all the toys you want. Safety. And if you have attachment problems, it's likely that you do not feel safe in your body. So reduce stress. Be affectionate toward yourself and your body, and let go about what sex is supposed to be. Just let go, So Katie McCall and Cindy Weston, they decided all these cues for sexual desire factors from women, what turns them on, basically. This is what they got. Love and emotional bonding cues, which are basically, showing acts of commitment, security, protection, special attention, Explicit erotic cues. Explicit. And that could be like watching a spicy movie, reading something, I don't know. Things like that, okay? So that causes you to anticipate sex, knowing your partner desires you, noticing your partner's arousal. Then there's the visual, seeing your man has a nice white shirt on or something, I don't know. Then there's kind of the romantic cues, and the intimate touches, things like that, whispering. So it kind of comes down to feelings about one's body. Oftentimes there's a concern with the reputation. What's this person going to think of me if I sleep over tonight, And then they'll say they can't, the brakes go on if they feel they're not being valued, if they feel they're being used. So they have to feel like they're being accepted, And accepting, I want to say accepting specifically, we're talking about the, sexual response. So, guys, if your lady's hip is bucking a certain way, you can tell she's liking something, you respond by doing it more, and keep doing that, not faster, just as it, you're responding to the body, right? Maybe she makes a little noise. You notice her breathing. If you're attuned, you're going to respond to that. But I got to tell you, a lot of people, they don't, or a lot of guys do and just don't care. Like, yeah, but I don't like that. They're so wrapped up in their own. A lot of times it could be their own pleasure, but a lot of times it's their own neuroses, their own kind of neurotic things. They're stuck in performance mode, They're not really thinking of that. So if you're with your girl, and this could be like 15, 20 years, I've had wives tell me, he never listened to my sexual cues, ever. And eventually I just shut off, because it's like a child saying, hey, let me just get your attention on this. And after a while, you just kind of curl up. Is that what's happening? Because you can bring in all the toys. It's not going to fix that, And also having a negative mood. So I love this. So they ask all the women all this stuff, and they go, oh, the erotic cues, the romantic, and blah, blah. And then we all know what happens next. Then they go, but still, it depends. Like, what? No, just tell I'm a man. Tell me the exact A, B, C. No, it does depend. It depends on the context. How do they feel about themselves? Do you feel confident in yourself? Do you feel this is a great relationship? Do you feel you're trusted? Feel attractive? The context. That's what's important. Interesting, John Gottman. He's like the married. I'm not a couples counselor, by the way. I just, when people have attachment problems, usually when I'm working with them for a while, it can help to get it like erotically embodied. But I have to say, I just don't talk about sex with any of my clients. There's just no reason to. And I would really caution anyone, if you get a therapist or a coach or whatever, like, go lightly on this stuff, because it is kind of, things can happen. I mean, these are like the most vulnerable, beat up, screwed up people on the earth. And I'm talking about the therapist. Yeah. A lot of these guys are pretty lonely. So just be careful. I'd really caution you. Be careful with what you share. Because oftentimes you will share something and then just feel ashamed after it, And I'm telling you, your therapist probably, even when I do this, I don't need to know what you're going through, So that's my little, perhaps it's a bit conservative, but I do think I would throw caution on that. But John Gottman, in The Science of Trust, the big study he did, he said he was amazed, I don't know how, but he was amazed that women were in abusive relationships, and after the physical violence was over, they had the best sex of their life. I'm constantly amazed that I just can't believe people are like, do not know this, or like, wow, you need a context? Well, the girl has to feel safe, No, it's almost, I mean, like, am I reading a manual for aliens? I just don't know how people don't know this. Maybe I'm naive, I don't know. But he was astonished. And she explains that's because it's sensation in context. So this is her other huge thing. Like I said, context, about the sensation, context. I don't know how people don't know that. Yeah, if you're having sex and you smack a girl's ass, that's hot. If she's like breastfeeding her kid or cooking and you do that, different context, it won't be as, like, how do you not know that? I just can't imagine. But perhaps people just don't. I don't know. I haven't watched TV in like 10 years. I don't own one. I have no idea what's going on in the media. So maybe that's probably presenting sex as like this weird, disembodied, like doesn't even have emotions anymore, doesn't connect to anything. I don't know how they're presenting it. But believe me, people come to see me, their hearts are shredded. So it's dangerous stuff, Heartbreak too, very painful. But basically, she's going to try and have us learn to recognize the contexts that increase our mind noticing it's a sexy place, pretty much, So he says, like, okay, having skills to maximize the sexy context is the key to increasing your sexual satisfaction. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's news to some people. I don't know. And actually, when she's writing a lot of this stuff, it just sounds, when she goes into it, and this is true, sex does have these like three systems. There's the expecting part, right? Like you see something, like, you start expecting. Then the eagerness, that's really the desire. That's kind of the fuel that will move you. So you can't just expect it, like, oh, it looks like sex, man, something. You actually have to, here's like one of the big things, desire it. You might think that's simple, but up until the 70s, you look it up. All the Kinsey experiments, they like, this is what sex is, da-da-da. And then, I forget the guy's name, famous guy, came up with and revolutionized it, desire. Because it wasn't just physical. When I touch this part of her, she does this, and no. She actually has to want to have sex too. Yeah, and that only cost like $12 million, and it took like a decade to study, but they finally figured that one out. So good for them. So expecting, then you get eager, right? And when you get eager, you're going to search for safety. Because getting eager is kind of a tense, stressful thing. Hence, sex is good because you relieve it. But that's part of the tension, is the eagerness. But you're either going to go two ways. You're going to go towards safety. So that means you're going to go towards your partner, if that's where it is. Or you're going to avoid your partner, if that's the unsafe place. Because you're going to seek affection. Where do you get your affection from? If you're an avoidant, you get it from yourself. You really don't get affection from other people. Of course, you can get it from the bottle, the needle. There's a bunch of things, but you don't get it from other people. So when you start to get it's going to move differently than like an anxious, avoidant person whose eagerness is activated. Kent Berridge calls that the moment of special temptation. You know, it's this craving or yearning that's powered by the eagerness system. And of course, it is in fact context dependent. Like just like when your little fellas, when your little guy gets a little excited, that's expecting. Physiological. But then the psychological experience of sexual arousal is expecting and enjoying. Guys know you can have and there's nothing there to enjoy. Like there's like you're looking around like I would not know. It doesn't matter. When your mind is enjoying though, that's when it will move towards that. Her thing is that if you remove sexual pleasure and just release it from all other motivations, that's a path to ecstatic orgasms. And we'll get that in the next video, but it just helps people know that there's something different. They're not always the same thing: desirable, pleasurable, sexually relevant. Because you can enjoy something without really eagerness for more. You can have sex with someone and be like, that was enjoyable, but I'm not going to do it again. You have no eagerness, you know? Hey, try. And you can expect some sort of stimulation is going to lead to sex. And it may activate a movement, but it might also activate dread, a movement away, if that's not your safe attachment figure. Your brain can even be eager for something without particularly enjoying it. It depends on the context. If you're expecting eagerness and enjoying substrates are busy coping with stress or attachment issues, all that sexual stimuli will not be seen. I mean, that's just one of the things, the reason I'm starting to get into like the whole sex coaching thing, because it's like not my bag at all. I've never even been to a strip club. No shame, you know, that some, if you are, I mean, fine, you know, do your thing. It just never made sense to me. It sounds frustrating. I love Hyundai. I would love to own a new Hyundai, but I don't go down to the used car lot and drunk and slobbering over the, you know, putting dollar bills under the windshield wiper. I just don't do that. So the reason I got into it was because people with attachment problems after a year, 2 year, 3, it takes some time. But year make a big. Then they start getting into this and start thinking about it, and then they just like freeze up, men and women. There's also like sexual de-arming. So there's all sorts of stuff, and they're kind of learning. So that's why that's kind of my interest in it though. So basically the idea though is, so how do you deal with it? This is what you want: low stress, high affection, and it to be explicitly erotic, you know. And it's context dependent because everyone acts differently to stress. Something I've seen a lot: men shut down with stress. It could be either one, but I've just seen this. Men, you know, there's a lot of stress. They can't get it up, you know. And women, when they get really stressed, will have the opposite reaction. Their activation goes right on their accelerator to deal with that stress. And then, because he backs away, both are stressed out even more, because now he's thinking about performing. Now he said no to her, and what does she think, and this, that, the other thing. So, but if you know that, you know, you're thinking about this, and you're like, oh, you know, I act this way to stress. You write down those things, like, yeah, when I agree, this happened, when it's terrible. Yeah, that's right, I stress out my mind. Yeah, right. If that's how you react, then when you're calm, you sit with your partner, and you plan something. When you're not stressed, you're calm. You say, okay, you know, let's just make it so it's planned out, and you'll know. People know, like at the end of the year, That's a lot of stress. Everyone knows December. It depends on your culture and where you are, but just where I am, for instance, like it's like 2 or 3 times a year, Christmas, Thanksgiving, high stress. And if you know that, you can actually expect and be like, wow, you're going to be really, and I'm going to be, so let's just make a plan, and you can plan it out. And that way kind of have it all set up. So really what and I tell you that escalates each other. I've seen people get divorced over that just because, she really, or vice versa, he really, and it has these opposite directions because they don't know how they react. And you'll even ask them like, well, what's going on with your life? And they'll look like, what's going on in my life? But I came here for help. What do you? And I'm doing like parts work and going into, but that's so to take care of that. What you can do, you actually don't make yourself turn on. You can't do that. You don't make yourself feel desire. You can't do that. What you can do is I'll use the garden metaphor a little. So you can, like a garden, you can make the environment right, the best possible environment for that to thrive, that environment of safety. And if you do that and you have it all set up, that will naturally turn on. Ideally, you should naturally be. Erotic is a way of living. It's a complete way of living. If you don't have sex, you just live erotically. It doesn't mean sexually. That means with like vitality, the things you do, you're passionate about. And if that's on, and you created a life like that, that itself creates the environment. So guys, like a lot of times say, follow your passion, but just do your purpose, and she'll come along. A lot of great advice in that. Because one of the things is if you're following your real passion, not only is that very attractive, but that passion, you're living erotically, and you can apply that to all your life. Tenderness, compassion. It reminds me, Baudelaire has, the French poet, wrote Flowers of Evil and Opium Addict and all that. He's kind of the first flaneur, the first bohemian. But yeah, he has that poem, Always Be Drunk, and he just goes, you have to always be drunk. That's all there is to it. It's the only way, so as not to feel the horrible burden of time that breaks your back and bends you to earth. You have to be continually drunk. But on what? Wine, poetry, or virtue. Yeah, as you wish. But be drunk, and if sometimes on the steps of a palace, or a green grass of ditch, in the mournful solitude of your room, you wake again, drunkenness already diminishing or gone. You can ask the wind and the wave and the star and the bird, the clock and everything that is flying, everything that is groaning, everything that is rolling, everything that is singing, everything that is speaking. Ask what time it is, and wind, wave, star, bird, clock will answer you. It is time to be drunk. So as not to be martyred slaves of time, be drunk. Be continually drunk on wine, poetry, or on virtue, as you wish. I like that poem. Yeah, it's one of the first prose poems. Because it's that passion that you can have. And people who aren't in relationships and they aren't with someone, they think they don't have a sex life. The thing you like about the sex life is the erotic, vital feeling. And that's absolutely untrue. You can bring that. You can bring a lot of avoidance or very spiritual. And they bring this really, truly erotic, fiery love to their God or their practice or whatever it is. They bring that to their own passions, and you can live that. So what this means, though, is that you can influence your sexual response. You can create a positive change, but you're not changing you. You really aren't. We really are talking about changing the context. Just noticing that the romantic, affectionate, exciting context, low stress context, increase your brain to sexual cues. They heat up the water. I mean, she does, and there's some good stuff too, but it's just this context I just can't get over. It's so bizarre. This is an actual paragraph from her about this woman who just couldn't figure out why she was like this guy, and then there's a light bulb moment. Camilla recognized that what she really needed was time for her enjoying to grow and expand until finally it activated her eagerness. They had been working with the hypothesis that it was feeling pursued that made her feel desire. But it turned out the real trick was not the experience of being chased, but the amount of accelerator activation that comes with going slowly, delaying gratification. How do you not fucking know that? It just blows my mind. Like, light bulb moment. Really? You really didn't know that? You didn't know that going slow. I mean, believe me, I don't like to do that. No one I'm not even telling you to do that. But it's for her, too. Everyone's different, But even so, it's like, yeah. I mean, geez, man, I don't suppose you could read, like, we used to have things called grandmas, and they were great. They were very soft, and they used to know a lot of things. And you would go to them, especially women, to check out your guy. It still happens. I actually just recently had a young girl who was bringing her boyfriend to Thanksgiving, and she was like, well, it's never, I said, oh, you guys serious? He goes, well, it's never serious until grandma okays them. So I love that there's still that tradition, because there's still kind of that wisdom. Grandma's been around, she knows. Now things are changing so quick that the elderly have nothing to tell us. Things are so different. The social world, the dating world. You ever try to talk to someone who's middle-aged? You ever see like a 20-year-old talk to like a 40-year-old? They live in different worlds, and that 20-year-old's experience of romance and dating is wildly different. The paradigm shift is so great that the older generation don't even realize what it's like. I try to tell people, people under 30, they just don't believe anything good will ever happen to them again. You really don't understand. Like, you just don't understand. Okay, so we learned how you get eagerness, safety. Yeah. So, but the other key is managing stress, and she is pretty good with this. And stress, and this is good, it's not simply relaxing or calming down. I know, like, you're stressed out. You have so you say, like, relax. Try that. No, you actually have to allow your stress response cycle to complete. You have to allow it to discharge fully in your body, and let your body know, I'm at risk, now I am safe. Change your body from I am at risk, I am safe. How do you feel inside your body? How do you feel safe? Just a couple things. I do a lot of somatic experiencing, and a lot of times do the ideal parent figure meditation. I do a body scan beforehand. Just that's letting you know your body, paying attention, feeling the safe places. And then with the ideal parent figure meditation, I'm bringing in ideal parents. And the first couple of weeks, it's like most people can just touch on it a little bit. Sometimes they have a big experience and then nothing. But you practice really feeling. So I'll say, like, oh, do you feel safe with the ideal father? And it's like, oh, yeah, I do feel, or maybe not, then we'll handle that. But to say yes, like, oh, mark that feeling of safety deep in your body. Get familiar with it. You're practicing feeling safety in your body. It's just, I'm a big believer in that protocol. Okay, but let me give you a meditation. This is to block any block, to unblock, a sexual block can be. But there could be an emotional block, blocking your sexuality, blocking that flow of energy. And this kind of helps with it. So it's, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes long or something. So I would just invite you to get into the meditative posture with your back straight but loose, shoulders back and down, feet firmly planted on the ground. Good. And we're just going to take one deep breath. Take one super deep breath. Hold it below the belly. Hold it below the belly and release. Good. Good. And now just start bringing the awareness into the body. Bringing your awareness in and down. And we can do a body scan and just focus your attention on your forehead. Do you notice any tension there? If so, you can just notice it. And then moving your awareness down around your eyes, softening the eyes, moving down your cheeks, softening the cheeks, moving into the jaw, and just softening the muscles around the jaw. And then a wave of warm, loving awareness moving down your neck, into your shoulders, down your torso and back. A rolling wave of loving awareness moving down, reaching down. Loosen the belly, loosen the hips. A warm wave of awareness flowing down your legs, down your calves, all the way down to your feet, firmly planted on the ground, like roots of a tree. Yeah. And now, I just invite you to notice your breath. And notice your inhale raises your navel center away from you. And then the belly just lowers back as you breathe out. You don't have to try. You can simply notice your belly expand and then become more and more relaxed. Yeah. And the more and more relaxed you become, the subtler the breath becomes. Yeah, good. Now, remember a time when you felt totally loved, totally safe, totally nurtured. This can even just be a moment with your grandparents, one time with your aunt. It could be with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, your husband or wife, just being wrapped in their arms and feeling loved. This could be with a friend. Bring up this memory of sweet love. Bring up this memory. And being there now, being in there, feeling that love, accepting that love, slowly, you can become aware of where you feel this love in your body. This being loved, this warmth, this safety, where do you feel that in your body? And noticing it in your body. What is it like? Is it open or closed? Warm or cold? Expanded or contracted? Just notice it does feel good, this love. And as you just focus on that feeling of love, I don't know if it'll begin to spread to the rest of your body, reaching out like light into the depths of your being. But you can just focus on that love and rest there. you can get so close to this love that you just go into it like wading out on a lake, and you melt, and you melt into the lake, and everything is gonna be okay, and you know that. You know that. And you begin to bring your attention into the space around your tailbone area, all the way around to the space just below your navel. Blow your awareness up like a balloon in this area. Focus there, above your pubis, below the navel. And now we're going to breathe in and feel the breath going down and inhabiting the pelvic floor. Go ahead and breathe a deep breath. Feel the breath moving down the torso all the way to the pelvic floor. Breathe out. Breathe in and inhabit your lower back. Breathe out. Breathe in, and as you inhale, inhabit your right hip bone. Breathe out. Breathe in, and as you inhale, notice your left hip bone. Breathe out. Now breathe in and feel your inhale inhabit your entire pelvic bowl, the whole pelvic area that sits right under your belly. And just feel the breath and your awareness inhabiting that entire place. And you're going to take a moment and let your awareness swirl around as love and energy in this sacred bowl. And as this energy and light and love is moving and shifting things in your pelvis, it searches areas that might be blocked. And when you find these spots, you can see them as blockages, blocking vast creative capacity you hold in this area of the body. This area of the body, the seat of all creation and rejuvenation. Yeah, just stay on those spots. Stay on those spots. And just let your awareness flow around those spots, those blockages, breathing love in with love. Allowing your attention to focus, to penetrate the corners of your heart. Breathe love to your heart. Your heart is filling with light and love and is connected to your pelvis. Yeah, it sits on the sweet pleasure that your pelvic bowl holds for you. And then you remember, energy follows focus. And you begin to soften the love in your lap. Soften the love as you focus on those blockages. And the more you're aware, the more these blockages dissolve. They dissolve. You feel them dissolve and resolve themselves. Perhaps they burn off like mist with your warm, loving attention. And you just keep that energy and awareness flowing down there. And you see and allow the energy to open and disperse any blocks. And down, it opens like a flower with 1,000 petals that opens to the sun and the light, and all the dew is burned off the beautiful, soft, tender petals that you can feel. And there may come a moment when that pelvic area is just so full of light and openness that you just abandon yourself and let go and give yourself to this energy and this loving light. And it spreads like a warm, loving fire, and you're alive and awake, and you simply enjoy breathing into this new space that you've created with your own erotic, loving awareness. And you dwell there. And you go deeper and even deeper. And now even deeper until you see a figure of light. And you notice this is your sexual self, your erotic self. And you see it as a figure of light, and it's moving in a way that you recognize your own sexuality. And you get closer to the light and closer to this beautiful, bright light. This beautiful, bright light is you. And you become the beautiful, bright light. And you are the beautiful, bright light. Deep inside yourself, you become this bright light. Moves from your pelvis up your torso, rolling up your body, rolling down your legs, filling your body with this warm, erotic, alive light. And you integrate this into your body as you breathe in. Your entire body is filled with that feeling of love and light. And then you can let it contract right into your heart, knowing that it's now a part of you. And you might be surprised to feel this warm, erotic light spread. You might be delighted to notice this erotic feeling. It's a feeling of sexual aliveness. In the future, as you go about the day, talk to your friends, this feeling of erotic warmth becomes very, very familiar. And now I'm going to count 5 to 1, knowing you've had all the time you need to make this part of yourself. And when I reach 1, you'll be back in the room, safe and secure. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back in the room, safe and secure. So right now I'd kind of just ask how you're feeling. And this is a good time to journal or think about those 3 times, you know. And the next part for books, she kind of goes into the solution, and that'll be the next part. But I do appreciate you guys listening to me. If you have any suggestions or thoughts or disagreements, I mean, please just let me know. I'll put the book "Come As You Are" by Emily Nagoski